Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is JT with Legacy Art Games, and we are back with more Fallen Republic, a Star Wars mod for Stellaris. And tonight we are going to be doing more once Fallen again. Republic. I forget to mute my own video. Oops. Okay. Moving on from that, tonight we are going to be doing a feature video. Yes, feature videos are quick little streams where we take a look at a particular feature of interest within Fallen Republic. And for those of you who might be looking for my older videos, well, this ties together with the fact that the game is oddly silent at the moment. You see the YouTube copyright robot police, well, they heard the Star Wars music in the game and they copyrighted the videos. So those are being de-copyrighted due to being de-musicked. They will be back up soon. Anyways, feature videos. Short, quick looks at features of interest. And by the way, you guys are on live as well, so if you would like to say anything in chat, well, feel free. Moving right along, as soon as my iPad cooperates, we are going to look at institutions this evening. Oh, come on, iPad, cooperate. Institutions are, within each empire, points of, let's say, points of particular thematic power. They may be organizations or divisions of that empire which command some sort of particular focus or expertise. And I've put together a few to show you guys. I'm not going to show you everything because, well, that wouldn't be fun. That would be spoiling lots for you. So we're just going to look at a few of them. But as you can see, we are at the moment looking at Dantooine as the Republic Loyalists. And, well, the Republic Loyalists in this playthrough are in not such a good situation right now. They are at war over here, thanks to one of our new friends down here. And, well, we need other friends from elsewhere. So, what do we have for our options? Well, we are going to look up here at our Unity. And as you can see, we have two tech trees, or I should say two tradition trees finished. We got preservation and diversity. And the reason we need two is because you've got to have one era perk, which is what you get for completing a tree. For our first perk, which in this case is technological ascendancy. And then you've got to do another tree all the way through to unlock that second perk. And that's when you can choose institutional focus. And institutional focus is what opens up, obviously, institutions for you. Now, for the major empires, institutions are things which have many options, and they're each very different for each of the major empires. In the case of the Republic Loyalists, they're very much about diplomacy. So let's take a look here. As you can see, you've got this button off to the side here for our institution. And in the case of the Republic Loyalists, their institution is the Delegation of 2000. And reading, the Delegation of 2000 is a special institution available to the Republic Loyalists. Some of the galaxy's most capable politicians are at your disposal. They can be sent out to bolster our diplomatic weight, strike alliances, or disrupt relations between our enemies. And how does this work? Well, it does have, you might like to know, a very handy manual in-game, but just explaining it for you. you always have to consider focus points. We'll come back to this in a second, so I can tell you a little bit more about focus points. You need to look at Dantooine again for this. Focus points are a type of currency which opens up once you start using institutions. And you can see them up here, the little blue symbol. How do you get them? Well, you get them through buildings. In this case, we would build for one focus point a planetary senate. And in addition to giving us a focus point, they also give us a very nice +5 stability and +5% happiness. And later on, if this were a more advanced world, we could also do a more advanced building. Actually, we may be able to do that now. Yeah, we can. We can also do now the Senate Complex. And the Senate Complex gives us 3 unity points, or 3 focus points, rather than just the 1. It gives an Empire modifier of +5 stability, Planet modifier of +10 stability and +5 happiness. And you'll notice that one adds a planetary modifier and an Empire modifier. The reason for the Empire modifier is because you can only have 1 of these advanced focus buildings, whereas you can have, I believe, up to 4 of the lesser ones per planet. I could be wrong about that, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, once you get your capital along far enough, you can build this more advanced structure, which we just happen not to have built yet. But that is basically how you get focus points. You just build these buildings after you have your institution up and running, and they will accrue focus points over time, which you can then use as institutional currency. So, what can we do with all this? Let's look back at the delegation of 2000 here. They have 3 tiers of powers, basically. You got, low, medium, high, and of course they cost accordingly. And you also have the option always of gaining influence, which is basically 1 for 1 per month. It will give you 1 influence for 1 focus point per month. And you can put additional efforts into this to increase the amount. But of course you have to be able to afford it. And that's something that's always available. If you're making 1 focus point, then you can trade it directly for 1 influence point per month. But what about the actual powers? Well, let's look at them in the proper order. Senate envoys. This provides you with 3 extra envoys per year. And that might not sound like much, but when it's an organization which relies as much upon diplomacy as the Loyalists do, it is actually a pretty big power for such a small price. And you can also use these envoys to boost the experience gain of your federation. You can use them to up your diplomatic weight within the Senate. And so they are very useful just as a very low tier, low cost function of the delegation of 2000. So next step up, Senate sanctions. This one is more of an offensive version of diplomacy. This reduces the diplomatic weight of a target empire by 45%, while boosting your own diplomatic weight by 45%. And that one lasts for 3 years. So think about that. If there's somebody on the Senate who's really powerful in terms of their diplomatic clout, they're getting through all the laws that you don't want through, well, they can be taken care of thanks to Senate sanctions. And 1 second, if you please. Sorry about that. Um, so, as I was saying, you can pretty much take care of their diplomatic clout within the Senate thanks to Senate sanctions. 45% of their diplomatic power, or their diplomatic weight rather, knocked off for 3 years, while you gain 45%. So not only are you weakening them, you are significantly strengthening yourself at the same time, depending upon your diplomatic weight. So that is very good for handling the Senate. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, you can put them into chat. I would be more than happy to address them for you. So moving on to our last option here with the Loyalists, and this is one of my favorites. This is good relations. We can send ambassadors to another empire to increase our relations with them by 300 trust, or 300 opinion. Doing so will also increase the trust growth rate by 25% and improve relations effectiveness by 50%, and increase your diplomatic stance by 25%. The good relations effect lasts for 5 years. So basically, you instantly gain 300 opinion with whoever your target is. And this can be any empire you know. And the effect continues on from there. Your trust growth rate is up by 25%. Your improved relations effectiveness up by 50%. And the increasing of your diplomatic stance impact, or rather is impacted by 25%. So basically, anyone you want will be your friend, except maybe isolationists, or people who would like you, except you're friends with someone they really don't like. Then it can be a problem. For example, I have my friends here, let's find them here, the Verpine. And there they are right here, the Verpine. And they were really keen on being in the Alliance right away. And I said, sure, why not? But then when I started looking around at governments which would also be very keen on being our friends, well, we look at invite to Alliance and we see, well, this could be very doable. In fact, with our institutional ability, our best institutional ability, this would be instantly doable. Except, well, everyone we have is voting no, for one, but also they wouldn't join anyway because being in an alliance with the Verpine Enclave gives us negative 1,000 opinion. So yeah, and I'm finding lots of people are feeling this way about the Verpine, and it's not a good time to be friends with the Verpine, so I might have to re-evaluate that one. But you get the idea. Basically, anybody you want to be your friend, if you're a loyalist, well, you can make them your friend, except, well, there's one person.
So be it.
Him. You can't make him your friend. There's no ending the war by making peace with Palpatine. Sorry. And, well, let's look at another example. We're gonna load up one of my other saves here, which I had ready for this. We're going to look at the Galactic Empire next. Bear with me, it's gonna load up really quickly. And yes, indeed, Gone 333. It is a beautiful map, and well, you can thank that in that particular playthrough to some organizations which were really efficient at making friends and getting them into their federations or into their alliances, you might say, before I could. Yeah. Actually, no, we're not looking at the corporate sector. We are looking at the corporate sector, by the way, is not major empire. That's why I didn't pick it. Um, but they do have their own options as well. What we're looking at for this alternative save is going to be the Galactic Empire, and I'm going to show you the full process here, thanks to the wonders of console cheating. Okay. Now we're going to take the last perk in the Imperial Military tree. We already have the Imperial Designs tree filled out. And as you will see, this unlocks an era perk. And you've got all kinds of options that you can choose from. Some of them are not immediately available, but they will be later depending upon the requirements. But right now we're looking, of course, at institutional focus. Let's grab it. And then we unpause. And you'll see, well met, my Lord Palpatine. I represent Imperial High Command. The Imperial High Command is a special institution of the Galactic Empire, which can authorize morale-building, empire-wide festivals, disrupt the production of other empires, and coordinate the research and creation of terrifying superweapons, all for the glory of the Empire, of course. And, well, as you can see, they have the same gain influence option that I showed you before. It is 1-to-1 influence for focus points. And no, I do not, actually. I do not have the Grand Moff tradition yet. This was just a quick game I threw together to show you guys a different major empire. But let's talk about these abilities, because this will show you how different they are between each empire. For one, you've got Empire Day celebration, which, what could be more cheerful than Empire Day, right? Empire Day increases planetary stability by 10% and unity production by 10% for 1 year. So once again, that is pretty powerful for a pretty small price. Up next, we've got Imperial Confiscation, which is your offensive ability against other empires. This increases a target empire's ship build time by 35% and ship build cost by 15%, while at the same time reducing your own ship build time by 35 and ship build cost by 15. So basically, they're getting 35 and 15% bad. You're getting 35 and 15% good on your ship building time and cost. Now, for the Empire, that's a big deal, because the Empire tends to focus on really big, powerful, expensive ships that take a long time to build. So think about it in a war situation. You cannot readily assemble some nice, powerful fleets really quickly because your ships aren't cheap or quick to build. And your enemy, on the other hand, might be able to do exactly that. So what we would look at for this is, if we were in a war situation, well, we'll just hit our enemy with this, and suddenly they can't build their ships so quickly, whereas we are churning out the Star Destroyers left and right. And it is a very, very powerful effect, which lasts for 3 years. And next up, last but not least, of course, and I know you guys are wondering about this one, it's Imperial Research Project. This one increases your megastructure build speed by 25%, reduces your scientist upkeep cost by 25%, and increases engineering research speed by 30%. The Imperial Research Project effect will last 5 years. So that is, well, and you can see it here, so I'll just say it. That also unlocks the Death Star event chain. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. And, but not just as pertains to the Death Star, but to all megastructures, which include shipyards that build large ships, like the Star Destroyers. You can build all of that 25% faster. Your scientists are 25% cheaper to upkeep, and you are researching your engineering tech 30% faster. So it's all about the tech gain for the glory of the Empire and for building gigantic, planet-destroying battle stations. Yeah. So, that's the Emperor's favorite one, probably. But all three of these are, again, very powerful. So, you might be wondering, and I'm just going to go ahead and load in while I say this, you might be wondering, what about the minor powers? What do they get? Well, they get an option as well. In this case, we're going to look at the Mon Calamari Monarchy, but in many cases, it does not matter as far as the minor powers. They aren't quite as complicated. We'll just wait for this to load in. And I'm looking at question. Don't you think some areas of the unknown region should require special tech advancements to explore due to pirates and whatnot? Oh, and hello, David Hagen. Yeah, you probably did play Hoi 4 with me. Nice to see ya. Now, as for requiring special tech for the unknown regions, well, that's not up for me to decide. I'm not on the beta or development team, so that's really up for them to decide. But I can tell you that there are interesting things in the unknown regions, and leave it at that. And yes, not at 3 in the morning this time. I tried to get this one done just before I go to bed at a sane hour. So, we're looking at the Mon Calamari Monarchy this time, and I've already cheated their way into power. And we are just going to, once again, take the Era perk for institutional focus. And now this is how it works with a minor empire. Sorry, I needed a second there. With a minor empire, I'll read, you now have the option to select an empire institution. An institution gives access to various actions that you can use to your advantage. Choose wisely. You can change your selected institution over time, but this will come at the cost of time and resources. So you want to be careful when you're a minor institution of which one you pick. You do have a series of choices. For here, we've got the first of all, the military high command. And by the way, these act like empire-wide modifiers. The military high command institution specializes in disrupting the ship production of our enemies while augmenting our own. It will also increase fighting capabilities of our fleets and can also boost the production of alloys, allowing us to field larger navies and armies. So, in mechanical terms, that adds a military high command empire modifier, giving you plus 5% to ship weapons damage, plus 5% ship fire rate. You can add 2 to your maximum rivalries, and your diplomatic weight from fleet power is up to 10%, or up by 10% rather. And next up you've got the Research Council. The Research Council institution specializes in advancing our research, either through the enhancement of our own domestic scientific abilities or through the theft of blueprints from other powers, because why not? This institution also has the ability to lower the upkeep of researchers and scientific facilities. So the Research Council modifier gives you a plus 2% to your research speed, a plus 5% for alliance research sharing, and plus 10% diplomatic weight from tech. The Diplomatic Corps institution helps our empire advance its foreign policy interests by improving our relations with friends, undermining foes, and stabilizing alliances. With the right words in the right ears, this institution can also significantly enhance our diplomatic weight in the Galactic Senate. And the Diplomatic Corps modifier gives you plus 10% unity, 1 extra envoy, and plus 10% diplomatic weight. And finally, we have the Ministry of Production. The Ministry of Production institution works to enhance the productivity of our factories and the output of our natural resource extraction facilities. This institution can also be used to impose market sanctions on other empires, crippling their industries. Ministry of Production modifier adds the following: plus 2.50% energy credits monthly, monthly minerals plus 2.50, monthly food plus 0.02, alliance energy bonus plus 20, and diplomatic weight from economy 10%. So, those will generally be your options for minor empire institutions. They're not quite as complicated as the institutions of the major empires. But the thing is, you also have to take into account the combination of your unity, or rather your tradition tree picks, as well as what the particular empire gets as its own unique bonuses. And they do each have unique bonuses, so really think of institutions for minor empires as helping to really help put that finishing touch on the build of your minor empire. And just for the sake of it, we'll do military high command. And now we have that. And greetings, Lee Char from Military High Command. Our officers can assist you in making the right preparations for war. And we have 3 options: aggressive expansion, which reduces the influence cost of claims; power shift, decreasing ship build speed and cost while increasing it for your enemy; or war economy, improves alloy income, lowers ship upkeep, increases naval cap, and reduces war exhaustion. So all very useful things. They pretty much sum it up for themselves, but For example, this will reduce claim costs by 60% for 1 year. Shifting powers will increase the ship build time by 25% and ship build cost by 10% for a target empire, while reducing your own by 25% and 10% for 3 years. So it's sort of similar to the second ability of the Galactic Empire, just not as powerful. And with war economy, this increases your alloy production by 10%, reduces ship upkeep by 20%, reduces war exhaustion gain by 25%, and increases naval capacity by 100. So this would be very useful if you were, say, going into a war, or you were planning to launch a major long-term engagement, and you were maybe not quite prepared, or maybe you really just want to bolster your military so you're guaranteed to win that war. Well, that final ability would be your friend. And you will also see we have an option here which the majors do not, which is switching institution. And to do that, you would just go here and you would make your choice. And you do need to spend focus points. It will deplete the entirety of your focus point stockpile and will take 10 years to establish the new institution. So that's why you want to be careful in making your first choice, because it does take your focus points and it does take 10 years to change to one of the other options. So guys, that is really it for the institution system, the very basics. I'm not going to spoil all of the major empires' institutions for you. It's more fun to let you see for yourselves. And let me see here about comments and questions. Just reading here, catching up. To answer your question, yes, the Confederate remnant is with the question of major powers. And they are, by the way, very fun. Very fun. And if, I should say, if the Empire is not prepared, well, you can head straight north and really catch them by surprise, because the Empire does not yet really have much infrastructure down south. So there's a good gameplay tip for you while we're at it. And let's see here. The Empire is just too overpowered. That's why the devs normally do sandbox for their multiplayer playthroughs. And yes, that they do. And yes, the Empire is very powerful. But on the other hand, it is also surrounded by people who hate it. So you won't be all powerful forever. You're gonna have that fight sooner or later. Let's see. That's why we need Empire of the Hand, Pentastar alignment, etc. The Ariadu authority is not enough. Well, you can, of course, expand the Empire. Technically speaking, the Empire is not just the Ariadu authority. You do still have some other people down here who have basically already been brought into the Empire. They're just not really major powers of note. Down here, we've got all kinds of power. Of course, it's within the Ariadu authority. But we've also got, you know, like Naboo right here. That is under our power. It's actually generally where I like to start launching my attacks against the Confederate remnant. And good evening, John. Nice to see ya. And let's see here. They aren't semi-autonomous, you mean, like Imperial factions? Yes, that's correct. The Iriadu are semi-autonomous, and in my playthroughs, generally speaking, they are the #1 reason why I end up at war with the Confederate remnant before I am ready, because the remnant, or rather the Ariadu, likes to tick off the remnant and go to war with them, which pulls the Empire into the war. And that is before I often have forces down south to deal with it. So, yeah, that's a thing to think about. But of course, in time, you can integrate them, and then they will be under your complete control. And you can, of course, also add to the Empire, just as anyone else can add to their alliance. So, any other questions before we wrap it up, you guys? I'll give you a second if you have anything to ask about the institution system, and then we will call it a video. Oh, and by the way, if you have other features that you would like to see more of or learn more about, just let me know, and I will see if I can't make a video for those as well. For those of you who are wondering, unfortunately, I did start that Loyalist playthrough with permission, but situation has since changed, and the playthrough videos are not going to be continuing until after the mod is released. So I'm just going to be doing feature videos up until the mod is released very soon. Okay, guys, I'm going to take it that we don't really have any other questions going on here, unless somebody's really typing. Yeah, if you like playing tall, then, well, if you like playing tall, I don't know that I would pick the Empire, because the Empire is massive. I mean, when you start out with the United Empire, you're all the way up here, all the way down to Naboo, down here through the Ariadu Authority, all the way to Confederate remnant space. And like I said, you are surrounded by people who don't like you. So it is a challenge for all of that power. Anyway, since we have no more questions to field about the institution system, we're going to call it a night on this particular feature stream. Thanks you guys for watching. If you liked this video, well, I really appreciate it if you would hit that like button. And if you like content like this and seeing cool games in general, well, I welcome your subscribe as well. Legacy Art Games works to benefit disabled and chronically ill gamers through spreading a supportive and positive message while entertaining everybody at the same time and not making one dime off of it. Those subscriptions just make me feel good and make me want to make more stuff. So, once again, thank you guys. This has been JT with Legacy Art Games, and I will see you next time with the next feature video. Drop me some comments. Let me know what features you're more interested in learning about, and I will see about making videos for those next. Have a wonderful night.